All right, welcome back, guys. To I guess this is episode one of the. This is episode one for the Think and Grow Rich series.
Think and Grow Rich series. Yeah. That's awesome.
I know we talked about it in our last off the cuff episode, so we'll post that one before this. We kind of just touch base on what we're going to be doing, but essentially, Think and Grow Rich is
A very deep book.
very deep book. Like I just feel like however you describe it, it'll be an understatement. Like that was like one of the first success development books that kind of came out. Like, and the other podcast that we did with on Outwitting the Devil, we also talked about like how it had similar principles, but just because Think and Grow Rich, just because the name, just marketing behind it, it was just far more accepted, right? And like also I think it had it kind of revolved around interviewing a lot of the business moguls back in the 90s and gave some real life examples. So I think that obviously helps to engage people back then. And it's been rewritten a few times. And you can find a lot of editor cuts where they add examples from the late 19th century or early 21st century, or the late 20th century, I guess, sorry, and the early 21st century with, I think the latest one actually also added Elon Musk and Steve Jobs in it.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. That I was listening to on YouTube. I'll maybe what I'll do is I'll find the link and I'll put it in the description.
Oh, really?
It's pretty crazy. Like the one before added, told a story about Steve Jobs, how they created Apple One, then Apple Two did like 400 million in sales.
I don't know. I feel like maybe the original would be the best one though, because I feel like it's best to go to like the original source, the very, very original book that Napoleon Hill wrote himself. I would say it would be like the best examples, because I don't think anyone else, if they're rewriting it, would be able to tell the stories and relate them to the principles the way Napoleon Hill would be able to relate them to.
But what they're doing though, they're like not. So essentially, they're not rewriting it. What they're doing is they're adding on to it. So it's like, the editor cuts. If you're listening to the audiobook, it's like editor cuts start also puts in another story. Like they keep the original stories from Napoleon,
okay. But then they added more.
But they added more. But they from
the perspective of the editor.
Yeah, but it's helpful because they add it within they'll add it in the paragraphs where they're talking about a certain faith item, let's say, right? And they'll give a 21st century example of a business mogul or an entrepreneur that they think applied that principle. So obviously, I think as the years go by, like this book has already been proven to be timeless, right?
Yeah,
I think no doubt about that. But as the years go by, I think they'll. I mean, that's just a basic principle, right? So I don't think this is gonna ever age.
Well, a lot of people probably don't even know about Think and Grow Rich, so let's just give some like backstory to it. Think and Grow Rich was written by Napoleon Hill in around 1938. He interviewed hundreds of very successful people at the time. In fact, the most successful people at the time, to sort of develop this psychology or this philosophy, of success, how people attained these, great heights of success, is what he was trying to get to. Because ultimately, we're all the same, and Andrew Carnegie wanted him to put together this philosophy so that anyone that wanted to attain any sort of success in life, they had a practical guide to how to get there. And this book is very deep because every time you basically read it or listen to it, there's going to be new ideas that come at you because of your own life experiences. But I feel like that's also a lot of other books too. But this book especially, because going back to my story, when I read it for the first time, nothing made sense. Things that make sense now, I was like, I didn't have like a hint of an idea about, like, if I were to look back now, maybe I knew like 10% of what is all that there in the book that I think now. So maybe like another 5 years, I'll think, oh, there's all this too, which I didn't understand back then. So I'm always trying to develop my own understanding of the book, the deeper I get into it.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about the first two principles, and that's it. The very first two. And I honestly think these first two are the most important. But then again, we don't know that. Like, that's us now. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, so there's like 13 principles total in the book. And the first one's desire, the second one's faith. So we'll just dive down into those. But yeah, even like, I think even during the editor cuts, and Napoleon himself said, like, even if you like, they're kind of sequential in the way they work. And like the desire, the definitive burning desire, and the faith are definitely, I don't think it would be, obviously as you read it, some of the more things are going to jump out, but the desire and faith are definitely like the top two that are most important. Because it's like once you build those two, everything else kind of starts making sense, right? It's like you're building from the base up.
Yeah.
Like the later chapter, like auto-suggestion. What's auto-suggestion? Well, you need to kind of read faith and understand what that is first, right?
And to get to faith, you need to know what desire is.
What desire is, exactly.
Yeah. So it's you got they build on top of each other.
Yeah.
I think we're going in the right direction with the going from the top to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is the best way to go. Or would it be bottom to the top? I don't know. Whichever one.
Building from bottom to top, I guess.
Yeah. So starting with the desire.
Starting with desire, yeah.
Desire is odd because a lot of people would be like, desire, obviously I know desire. Obviously I want things. Obviously. But like, what is desire versus wanting things?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's where, yeah, it's just the terminology that they used back then. Like maybe now they'll just call, what's your burning passion in life? Like what's the one thing that you can be obsessed about? If you were to be obsessed about something, what would that be? That like what would you want to make your obsession, and you won't stop until you gain it, until you attain it, right?
So burning desire is
that's actually what it is. Burning desire, right?
Yeah.
And like actually, when you were reading the audio book, or when you were listening to the audiobook, or you were reading the book, do you read the part where, I don't know if it was the editor's cut or it was Napoleon Hill himself, where he was talking about, as you're reading through this book, and it's different for everyone, there's the secret, which is like kind of the overarching principle that it keeps repeating, is gonna jump out of the book, and when it does, you should stop. And like I was astonished by how big of a statement that they made at that point. It's like when you realize that secret, it would jump out of the book. Make a note of what time that is, what day it is, because that's the turning point in your life. I'm like, wow.
Did it jump out to you?
I think honestly, I haven't had that whoa moment yet, right? To be honest with you, and I think I'm kind of developing as we go, because like you said, like the first time you read it, not a lot of things stick, but like for me, I kind of went the other route where I read like The Secret, which could be, for lack of better terminology, it's like a dumbed down version of Think and Grow Rich by Rhonda Byrne, right? And it's like, and it was written like in 2000 something. I
never went that direction. I heard a lot of skepticism around The Secret, so I decided not to read it.
Yeah, but like so, and then I read this, but I like honestly I understand the principle, but I don't think we're at a point where we're like, fuck, I completely understand what I need to do. This is my burning desire. Yeah. This is what I need to, like, I feel like, like I still have those doubts sometimes. It's like, okay, I want to get this. Then I'm like, okay, but maybe, like, maybe I also want to get this, or also is that going to work? So until like, like something jumps, I was like, this is it. No fucking force in this entire world can stop me from achieving this particular burning desire.
Yeah.
I don't. You
don't have that yet.
Yeah, I don't think I have that yet.
You don't have it pinpointed like
exactly what it is, right? So, and like for the few things that are scattered that I want, and I think for both of us, they're kind of on the same like ballpark. It is like that's definitely one of our desires, but it is not the burning desire, right? And also like sometimes for me, like I have like some days of doubt and stuff. So for me, it won't jump out to me until I'm like, this is it. I totally understand it now, and I could be through the darkest times, but I'm never going to lose faith.
But then again, do we really know if that's actually going to stick to, like, how he says that it's going to jump out at you and you're going to know, like, okay, I know. But like, is there going to be a day when you like, no, and then you won't ever forget? Or is it going to be like, oh, you'll know, but then a few years down the road you read it again and you'll know again? Like, I guess there'll be
like it's like a series of epiphanies.
Yeah, new things just pop up at you. So we see, honestly, maybe we don't know it that well yet ourselves because we haven't studied it that thoroughly yet. But this is a good discussion to understand it better for ourselves, and to help like the first time readers of the book also like sort of relate to the things that they understood and maybe pick out better ideas out of this conversation, and then they can use it into their understanding of what they understood from the book. And I'm sure there's people out there who'll read it once and they'll be like, okay, I get it, exactly what it is. Because, they might be just in the right place and, their mindset's just right in the place. With me, I think with the chapter of faith, I did have some of those epiphanies, which we'll talk about when we get into faith. But there's a little bit of that I've had, but it hasn't been so... that's not nice. It hasn't been so... well, I think the reason I say that is because I haven't been able to put it into practical use that yet. Is why I think maybe I don't understand it that well.
I think that's like you just hit the nail on the head there. I think putting it in practical use and seeing results is when you're like, oh fuck, or like you could think back to a time in your life where something happened and it didn't make sense. Like I don't know.
And then now it makes sense.
Now it makes sense. Oh, I see. Because that's the mindset I was in, and these are my predominant thoughts, and that's what was happening, right? But I think also it could be like progressive, right? Like maybe you just get the feeling initially, and then as you like develop on it or you start seeing things in your life, it just gets stronger.
Yeah. Bob Proctor, he's a very, like, obviously a very big advocate of this book. He says he literally reads the book every day.
Yeah.
Every day he'll read like a chapter or like the whole book some days or like a few chapters, or like he's always going through it. Honestly, I feel like I want to do that too now. Like at least like try to read one chapter from the book, and like, because again, there's always things that are connecting and things that are like making more. You know how you had it playing here for like a second here? He was saying something about not being resentful towards other humans and having love for other humans. He was saying something along those lines.
I think it was he was saying that regarding the faith topic on not being dishonest and try to look for win-win situations, right?
Oh, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I heard something about love, and that's what I jumped out of. I'm like, oh yeah, like love too. Like that's very important. Like it's because there's, even when you read, like sometimes it'll be like one line that'll get to you, like, oh, like this clicks now, it didn't click back then. But then I guess it's a progressive understanding of these little points that add up over time, and then you sort of become more and more, you become sharper to be able to go into the direction that you're trying to go. That's what it is, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think that's very well put. So going back to desire. So I guess what the way Napoleon Hill describes desire, like Prabh said, he says that it needs to be a predominant burning desire. So and obviously, like on surface, like people would think, okay, you know what, I have all these desires, and yes, I would like to think I put in the work to accomplish these desires. So the question becomes like, how do you know if the desires that you have are burning desires or not? And I think he describes it with a few stories in the book. But essentially, what he's saying is, like, if you're going after your desire in a very timid way, in a very defensive way, and like you still got one foot on the first base, and you're trying to make it to the second base, it's not gonna happen. Like it has to be a burning desire. In the sense where you burn all the boats, right? He also told that war story, and it's used quite heavily in modern day literature. Do you remember what exactly the story was? Like
when he said to burn your ships.
Yeah, like one, but it was based from it came out of an actual story where an emperor went to war on this island. I don't remember the specifics of it, but. Like
when they got there, they basically unloaded all their stuff, and
they were heavily outnumbered.
They were heavily outnumbered, yes. And then the emperor knew that the only way to win this war is to like put a burning desire in the soldiers. There's like there should be no.
There's no way out.
There's no way going back. You can't return no matter what. And like there's no what was it called? There's a word, surrender. I guess surrender.
Yeah, like surrender is not an option. You're gonna get killed, right? Like or retreat.
So it's either get killed or win.
Yeah.
So that's basically what he's trying to say now. That the desire should be so great that you're either gonna get killed or you'll attain the thing that you want.
Yeah, like you can't. If you're trying to go after it timidly, it's not a burning desire, right?
Yeah. That is something that I've been coming into a better realization recently. To be honest with you, like I can for the like, yes, I've had desires. I've always been like, oh, like I wanted to like, be a big businessman, own a business, or have an organization that I run. Like I have had these thoughts obviously come up every now and then, but they've also been overtaken by other thoughts of things like, oh, well, like, this and that. And like, there's fears associated with things like, oh, I might be able to do it. I might not be able to do it. Like it's never been like, oh, I will do this no matter what. And, do you hear that?
It's a little bit of bass. That's fine. I don't think mics will pick it up.
Okay. So it's never been like this burning desire of like I know for sure that I will get this thing no matter what, and I will only work in a way that I know that I'm going towards this direction. So sometimes it's either like we're thinking that in the future we will like this is what we say sometimes to ourselves. Oh, in the future, I want to be this person. So in the future, I will do the things that I need to do to be that person. We don't think we need to do them now, because to be that person in the future, you need to start having the desire now. Do you get what I'm saying? So
So like what you're saying is like with that specific example, yeah, you're kind of being protective.
Yeah.
And you're not going like all out, right?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, maybe like in future I could do this, you know.
In the future,
Yeah.
I'll start doing this. In the future, I'll start doing. Recently, though, did you like the post that I posted on Instagram that I showed you there today? See, with that post, that was like instilling that desire. Like, you know what? This is it. Like here, so see this. Like let people show people this. Like, this is my plans. This is what I want to do, and like this is what I'm going after, and I will go after this point onwards, no matter what. Like how I need like that. Like that's like a much stronger like message that I'm putting out, rather than just being very timid and shy and like hoping that in the future I'll go for this. In the future I'll try to build something for myself. But right now let's just do this job to make ends meet, and like, you know, let's stay comfortable for now, but in the future we'll break limiting beliefs. But I guess what it is that you have to start breaking those limiting beliefs now. If the desire is strong enough, then you don't wait for the future. Then you start in the moment. You know, I want that thing, and I will have it.
Yeah.
And that only and another thing that he says is that for a lot of people, that desire comes up during crisis. So like say someone loses a job and now they have to make money, and there's no ways of finding jobs. Now if they start a business out of that desperation or out of that crisis, that desire is going to be very strong, that okay, no, I have to take care of my family. The desire is so strong. Then when they start working from that perspective, then their business does get successful. But when someone has like a safety bucket of like, oh, I do have this job, but on the side I'm trying to do this thing. On the side, sort of, yeah, some businesses are successful on the side too, but I think most would be failures compared to if they were by themselves.
Yeah, and I think what it is like, so number one, yeah, like just reinstate what you just said. Burning desire, that needs to be your obsession. The thing is, he talks about in his book is that a lot of times when you do have burning desire, and opportunities are really funny because they always come in disguise of failures, right? So for example, like you just said, maybe you lost your job. If you do have a burning desire, like you develop this sixth sense for opportunities, and you like, let's say you were just kind of like going through life as a drifter, you'd be like, okay, fuck, I lost my job, I'm gonna find another job. But like if you had a burning desire and you wanted to achieve, like let's say you want to open your own business, you would look at that as, okay, maybe this is my opportunity. Maybe I'm analyzing the market. Maybe this is a niche that the market needs that I can provide, right? So a lot of times opportunities are all around us, right? It's about how you capitalize on them, and before you capitalize on them, how you identify them. And the way you identify them is by knowing what your end goal is. You don't have to worry about how you're going to get there. The universe has a lot of tools in the way it's going to present opportunities to you. But to be able to have the wisdom, and I guess not the wisdom, but like to be able to have the sixth sense, let's call it, to recognize those opportunities, you need to have a burning desire. Because then like things start lining up. You know how he says like, it's such a funny thing in nature where technically with this, and he talks about it in Outwitting Devil, like the harmonic vibrations, you will not have a particular burning desire, whatever it may be. Like you want to be an amazing businessman, you want to open your own trucking company, unless you could already achieve it, unless you have the capability to achieve it, right? So the fact that you have that desire, that already means you can achieve it.
Yeah,
you just need to have faith.
Anything the mind can conceive,
it can achieve. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Henry Ford said it too, and I think this one's it's public knowledge, but like he says, whether you can or can't, either way you're right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's so really, I think obviously making sure like that's figure out what your burning desire is, make that your obsession, and then have an open mind for opportunities. Once it is your obsession, even you'll be able to spot opportunities within failures.
Spot opportunities with failures. Okay. I'm completely lost right now.
Are you just distracted from the?
I think I am. I think the music is very distracting.
Yeah. Okay, we'll just do a little clap and we'll let them do.
No, it's fine. Hold on, sorry. It's fine. I think we should just continue. Let them do their thing. It's fine.
No,
We'll try to focus.
I mean, we could they could like turn the bass down a little bit if it helps.
No, I don't want to bother them. It's fine. They're doing their thing. Let them do their thing. Where were we? Yeah. Finding opportunity.
Watch Rash gonna come out like I told you guys fucking couple days ago. What the fuck you guys doing?
Finding opportunities out of failures too. That's what you're saying. Well, the burning desire, the story that he told about the Edison associate.
Mm-hmm.
I think that story. I think that hit the nail on the head with this guy who didn't really have anything to him other than this desire of I'm going to be the business associate of Edison. I forgot his Charles Schwab, was it?
No, it wasn't Schwab. It was someone else, but I can't remember his name either. But like, yeah, he literally got on a train, and I think he just had enough money for that one-way fare, and he walked up to Edison's office. He's like, and he didn't say, he's like, hey, I want to work for you. He's like, I want to be your associate.
I want to be your business. I want to go be in business with you. And then 5 years later, he did start selling. Then
Edson obviously like he's a genius, and he saw something in him, and just the energy. He's like, okay, why don't you start in sales, right?
Yeah, it's the burning desire that he saw, and even that takes character, I think, to recognize the burning desire, because often I think we would just be like, oh well, this person thinks they'll be able to do this, but they can't, and then people do start talking them down, and then again, if it gets to you, that means the desire wasn't, strong enough for you to just avoid what people are saying and just be on your path the whole time. Because a lot of times people say that, oh, like I had all these ambitions and they were talked down by people around me. I guess that's true to an extent, but if the desire is so strong,
you don't let that stuff get to you, right? Like it just and like that's what it is. Like, so like people talking it down to you is just another form of it's not a full on failure, but it's another form of a setback. Like Edison, when he developed the light bulb, he had more than 10,000 failed prototypes, right? So he could have given up at any point. More than 10,000.
Yeah.
And for us, maybe it's like right now, if you want to do anything, there's like 4 or 5 people talking it out. Sometimes where it's hard, it could actually even be family. But they always have good intentions, but they just don't understand what you're trying to achieve, and maybe they don't have this knowledge, right?
Most importantly, I think they don't understand the power of their own mind, so they don't believe that you have that power. Because if the person that does understand the power of their own mind, they won't have a doubt about anyone else's abilities. The people that doubt others' abilities are usually, they haven't used their own brain. They haven't understood. Oh, like there's all things. I was able to do all these things had I put my mind to it. Mm-hmm. So obviously then I'm like, okay, well, you're just saying all this because, we tried so hard at this and we tried so hard at that. And even if they had tried, maybe they didn't try it in the right ways. They didn't understand the philosophies.
They didn't understand the concept. And obviously, especially when it comes to family, like they have
best intentions.
Best intentions. Yeah, right? It's just they don't have the knowledge. So that's when you like, sometimes you're on your own. Like, and it's like, for me, I think we're both fortunate in a sense that I found you, because you think in a similar way that I do, and even if you tell me something, like, so for example, you tell me, what, Abby, by like next year September, this, you show me a check, this is the sum of money I want, and this is my plan to achieve it, and no matter how inconceivable it sounds, I would just be able to like tell by the way you describe me the plan and by the spark in your eye that, okay, you know what, you can fucking do it. But if you tell that to like 95% of the other people, it'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Or maybe they won't say it to your face, and then you'll hear about it in a roundabout way. But that's the thing. Like, I think just I guess just on with us kind of thinking around the same mindset. Once you start once you have a burning desire, it's like, it just seems like right now we're talking about, it seems so laborious that you need to have this burning desire. You have to burn all your boats. Like this could be, this has to become an obsession. But it gets easy. Why? Because like the universe starts lining up people, resources, and opportunities, and you have the wisdom and the ability to recognize those. Yeah. So like, I guess
at first, it's gonna be like a simple desire of like, oh, I want that thing, and this is how I want life to be. But over time, it just becomes a burning desire, because the more and more you see the world, and then you start realizing if you attain the thing that you were thinking of, all these issues would become so much easier. Let's just talk about money straight up, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you think about like, oh, I'll be rich, at first you're just gonna be like, oh, I just want to be rich. But when you at first it's just a small thought, and then something happens in life where you couldn't afford something, or you were humiliated because you can pay for something or something like that. Anything, that humiliation is gonna make you think that, oh, like if I had money, I wouldn't have faced this humiliation. But then again, like you go a little bit further down your life, and then something bad happens to someone who you love, and you wish you could help them financially, but you can't. And then you think to yourself, oh, if I had money. So it's like money becomes like this obsession, but it doesn't become an obsession until you start looking at it and thinking of it as something that will help you solve a lot of the issues that are in life. But I guess a lot of people don't look at it like that. I guess a lot of people also look at money as like this evil of like, oh, like having money is a bad thing. Like if you're thinking about money, you're greedy or this or that, like other things or there's just limiting beliefs around money. Like we're not the kind of people that have the money. So they never they don't even look at the fact that this thing is possible. Like having money having someone with like, a good amount of money is something that I can do. Like I don't have any money right now. Let's just be real, because I do, but it's just the very like nominal amount. Like
you just have enough money to like operate, but like to
the money that
you
we're
don't have capital for like business expansion and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're still working on creating wealth, is what I'm talking about.
100%.
But even then, I can say that yes, having money will definitely solve a lot of the issues and straighten out a lot of my life that I want to be straightened out in the right way. It'll help a lot, and it'll help everyone a lot. And that's just one aspect. It's just money. But then again, you could also apply this to anything else that you want to attain.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be money, but money is like an easy example.
Yeah, like honestly, this book could be titled like that. Like the last word: think and grow rich, think and grow happier, think and grow.
Yes, for sure.
I don't know, more content, whatever you want. Think and grow, think and build happier relationship. Think and grow, whatever. Right? Fill in the blank. But like just getting back to money, they actually gave an example of the 6 steps that you need to follow, just particularly, and again, you could replace money with anything else to build a burning desire. So they talked about like number 1, if
can you stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Our camera's gonna go off, so I'm gonna go turn it back on and off before you get into the 6. Okay, you were about to get into the 6 steps to build a burning desire.
So 6 steps that, and that this was the example presented in the book was in relation to money, right? Yeah. So step 1 was you need to know and think of the exact amount of money you want to attain, right? So like back then, it was kind of funny, like reading through the book, and that kind of tells you how timeless it is. It was something like, I want to attain $50,000 in 5 years. But like for now, for example, you could be, and it could be whatever's conceivable to you. Like everyone's situation is different. There is no limit to what you can actually get. It's about what your mind can conceive, right?
Yeah.
So like let's say we say, okay, you know what, by the end of 2023 December, so about more than like almost 2 years, I need $2 million. That amount has to be exact.
Yeah.
Step 2 is like you need to know the exact date that you need that money by.
Okay.
Right? Like it can't be like, oh, within the next 3 to 8 years. No.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know by December I need this money. And also like that money it doesn't have to be like you will get one check on that day. Just like by that date I need to have this much in my bank account, and that could come in progressive payments for the services that I provide, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, obviously in real life, like there is no take without give. So what are you willing to give to achieve your desire, right? Like to achieve this sum of money, what are you willing to give? Like you don't come up with a plan yet, just like what are you willing? So right now you're like, I spend like 3 hours on my phone, I'm like scrolling through Instagram, or I'm just looking at stupid TikTok. You know what, maybe I'm gonna cut that down to like half an hour.
Yeah,
that's what I'm willing to give, right?
You're willing to give up that time,
give up that time that you're wasting.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I can invest that time in whatever your burning desire is, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's to get into step 4. Step 4 talks about you need to come up with a plan on how you're going to achieve that money. So this is where people get hung up. And he put a caveat to this. He's like, your plan doesn't have to be bulletproof. Mm-hmm. Just execute it. You know how like Gary Vee says a lot of times is like, people just spend so much time refining their plans. If they just executed it would have been like, statistically, they would have had a lot better chance of succeeding, right? So
So
step,
I think what you're trying to say here is that you need to just trust that the plan doesn't have to be complete.
it doesn't have to be bulletproof, and it just, you just need to have a plan. Like, what do you need to do?
An idea. Just
Idea. Like, this is what I'm gonna do. Even if it's just like a shitty, you know, we're talking about this, and Outwitting the Devil as well.
Yeah.
If it's even if it's a shitty plan, execute it. As long as you execute it with faith, like
there's more chances.
There's more chances. Like, quantum physics has proven this. Like, there's more chances that the universe is gonna fucking line things up for you for it to work. And number 4 and 5, I guess 5 and 6 are just kind of summarizing the first 4 bullets. So number 5 is make a statement out of the first 4 steps. So like the statement would be, I, Prabhdeep Singh, am going to attain $2 million by December 31st, 2023, through different social media ventures and my trucking company. And the plan for it, and I guess I'm willing to give up my time. I'm going to invest my time into this business. I'm going to invest all the resources I have, which we don't have to get in detail, whatever they are.
Yeah.
And my plan is whatever. Like, my plan is attain 4 trucks now and then go from there, get businesses. You don't have to get into specifics. I need to sign this client, this client, this client.
Yeah.
This is my plan. This is what I'm going to do. And once you have that statement, repeat that to yourself a couple times a day. And when you're doing that, make sure you do that in the present tense, in the sense that you have already attained it. So those are kind of like the 6 steps that they give an example of. And again, like I said, like here, money can be replaced with anything.
Yeah. So that's why, like, I want to say that it is, when you say that, oh, I want to have this much money, I think a lot of things often can't even be put into simple words. So a lot of times life sort of like, so say that you just want to live a life of prosperity where you're not worried about money, and you don't have to think too much about spending money, and anything that you want to buy, you can basically buy.
I don't check the price. All I do is swipe.
That life. Perfect.
Can't remember what song that lines out of, but yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to attain that, I guess in that case you just sort of have to trust that life is attainable, first of all. And then secondly, to attain that life, obviously you have to make a logical sense of it. Okay, well, I have to have this amount of an income for me to be able to keep swiping without worrying about how much it's going to cost me, you know. But then again, it never stops. There's no cap to how much you can swipe. So obviously you have to be logical and think about, okay, well, I want to make this much money so I can buy these things, and these things are going to cost me around this much. So roughly around this amount is what I'll need per month or per year to be able to sustain these kind of expenses that I want to be doing.
And maybe that's what your burning desire is, right? Like it's like, I need to get to X amount for my monthly income. Yeah,
that could be your burning desire. It doesn't have to be I guess it doesn't have to be this is what he doesn't say it in the book, does it? I think this is just something I'm thinking, that I guess it doesn't have to be one specific amount. But that's if
this was like the one particular example he gave. It could be anything, yeah.
But does it say in the book? Does he say that in the book, or does it
like for the example? Yeah, he does. He said it has to be like and because the reason is these 6 steps are to help someone who has never done this before to set a burning desire, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, well, if I'm just talking to a person that I'm just introducing these principles to, what's the best way? He's like, figure out the exact number down to the cent.
Just one sum, basically, so that you can now then work towards that one thing rather than.
And as you exercise this, right, like you can, like you said, you could apply this to minimum monthly income, or you could apply this to for people that are married and stuff, I want better relationship with my life partner. Right? Maybe they're going through a rough time. The next 6 months, we just want to be happy. We don't want to have any arguments, and I just want a smooth life. I want to provide for my family. I want to have a really happy family life with my kids and everything. It could be anything.
Yeah. So as you exercise it, you'll sort of figure it out for yourself, how you can apply this principle, but like to a broader area of your life rather than one specific point, which was one sum of money. So basically it's just, but that's over time, right? That's something you have to develop and understand and work with. But I guess to start with, you can, say something that you can conceive and think you can attain it through whatever means you're willing to provide, like whatever service you're willing to provide, whether it's like sales or like whether it's like if you're like if you're like a car salesman, I would say that, making like $200,000 a year would be like a big thing, right? So you could say like by the end of the next 2 years, I'll have $500,000 in my bank account selling cars. You know what I mean? Like that's just, it's a very rough idea. But then once you sort of see how these principles apply, and now you can have like bigger amounts and have bigger goals and figure out newer avenues too. But I guess that's all, it's all just subjective. It's all just how much you're willing to believe and how much you can conceive that you're able to do. And if you can't,
I think that's where the progressive thing comes in, right? Like once you attain your first goal, you're gonna aim higher, then you're gonna aim higher.
Yeah.
You're gonna aim higher, right?
Yeah.
So like someone, like for example, like a kid who, like an immigrant kid who just moved here and is in school right now, first year, and he's struggling to pay his tuition fees, right? He, like, what his desire would be that he can actually conceive would be a lot less than what you can, right? At this point.
Yeah,
but
I guess it'll be a little bit different.
It will be a little bit different, and as he grows older and he takes
and
a little bit.
There's other people that are making millions of dollars, and what they can conceive now is probably like those are like crazy numbers that we can't even think about or imagine how they would be possible, right? Because we can't, not at this point, I guess. But then again, should we just be ridiculous with it, or should we be somewhat logical with it? Like, do you put out like a number of like, oh, I'll make $1 trillion in the next month? Like, what if you say something like that?
I think you need to overshoot for sure. Like
$1 trillion in a month?
No, not that specific example. So, I mean, so here's the thing. Obviously, there's a range to this shit, right? So, whatever you think you can achieve,
go beyond that.
For sure. Because then at least you'll minimum hit that. You definitely need to overshoot. Yeah. For example, like Elon Musk is the prime example of this.
Yeah.
That guy has always wanted to go to Mars. Since I think SpaceX, I don't know when it was founded, like not 2001 maybe.
Yeah.
And like at that point, like who could have imagined what SpaceX could be in 22 years? This was a guy who just sold PayPal, and he's just starting Tesla and like this boring company in SpaceX, and he's got this burning desire to take humanity to Mars.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt he'll be able to accomplish it, right?
Yeah.
But like, and mostly because of his burning desire. I know it kind of sounds cliche, it's like, oh, what about all the engineering and everything? I understand that, like those skills and like getting that talent together, that
specialized knowledge, but
that's another principle we'll get into, but that all lines up. If having a burning desire is the most important. Like they gave an example in the book about Henry Ford when they were trying to make they were trying to cast a V8 engine, right?
Yeah.
The engineer's like it's impossible.
He kind of kept saying, no, just do it.
He's like, he just comes on. He's like, okay, how much time do you need? You're not listening. It's impossible. Okay, I'll give you 6 months. They come back. How much more time do you need? It's impossible. Okay, another 6 months. And they keep trying. And then after a year, he comes back. He's like, so what are we doing now? He's like, oh, we told you it's impossible. No, okay, well, try it. Like, just make it. Just do it. I don't care. And then they had, it doesn't go into detail on how they actually found a way to cast a 6-cylinder engine. 8-cylinder, sorry.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, they did. So like that's the thing. You gotta be like almost stubborn with it, and you need to have like, and I guess this is probably a good segue into faith.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to have 100% faith. Like there were definitely a shit ton of naysayers when Elon Musk started talking about this idea of going to Mars, right? And now they're working with NASA on sending satellites up in the orbit, sending missions to the International Space Station. It's crazy, right?
He's doing a lot more than that too, but that's why, like you were saying about faith is impossible without a burning desire, because if the desire is tiny, how are you going to be able to even think about faith? Because you haven't even like made the desire big enough to be able to think that this is something possible, let alone having faith in it. You know what I mean? So first you got to have a burning desire, or first is a desire, then the desire becomes so strong that you start having faith in it. And this is where a lot of people would start calling you delusional. Because people start, this is where like, how, have you heard the story where they say like, it's the crazy people that change the world?
Yeah, I can see that though.
Yeah, those people are crazy or considered crazy because their faith, and the faith is not something that people can see. It's just, it's in their heads up here. So now they're imagining this stuff and they're having faith in this thing that doesn't exist in real life. Other people are looking at them, they're like, what's wrong with this person, So that's why they say like this person's crazy, but they keep having that. They're persistent in their faith. So over time, they do get to the point where they do something crazy big, and then that changes the world. Now people are like, oh, this person could change the world and he's crazy. So crazy people change the world.
What was that one example? And I'm this is gonna make me sound stupid, but I can't remember. Like, who invented the radio again?
Yeah, it does make you sound stupid.
I know, but hold up. Do you know who invented the radio?
No, Graham Bell, is it?
No, that was a telephone, I think. But like, anyways, like I don't know if it was Edison, but well, you know what we'll do? We'll cut this and we'll insert us sounding smart. It's like, oh, this guy invented the radio.
No, I think.
But like, he was actually taken in. So like back then, like all communication, like logically, you need to have a cable, like a direct connection for communication to flow, and he was actually taken into therapy, and like people were like, is he crazy? When he introduced the idea that you can talk through air, you know what I mean?
Yeah, his close friends too, people that cared for him, people that were like really close to him, they took him into like a psychiatric evaluation or something like that to check, like get his brain checked, like why is he saying these things? Because he said that, like, you know, you were talking, you convert these vibrations into low vibration, then you put it through the air, and then there's a receiver, and then that receives it. And then, like, he had this whole concept, which we use now all the time. Yeah. But back then, they were like, okay, well, this guy's definitely, you know, lost his. But where did he come up with that idea? We don't know. Right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think he was a pretty smart engineer, but like,
again, I'm gonna stop you there right there. You said he was a pretty smart engineer. See, this is where a lot of people, they'll hear that, they'll be like, oh, so it's smart people that come up with these ideas.
Yeah, no, like 100% not. Yeah, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's not smart people that come up with these ideas. It's anyone with the burning desire will figure out their way in their own smarts, because we're all a unique form of genius when we have that burning desire and a sense of purpose. We only become genius when we have the purpose, we have the desire. The genius comes after, the desire comes first.
100%.
Have you, okay.
It's pretty much like what we were just saying earlier, right? Like, as long as you have burning desire, everything else lines up.
Yeah. So when you said that, oh, he was a pretty smart guy, obviously, and that's why he was able to do this. See that, like, even me, as I hear it, I'm like, oh wait, like, so you have to be smart. Because back then I've heard a lot of this stuff, like, oh, you know, this person went to school, now they could do this, and then they could do that, and then it always makes me question. I'm like, I never went to school. I went to grade 12, and that's it. And then I haven't gone to college or anything. So am I not going to be able to do any of these things? But then turns out I'm actually doing somewhat more of what I would have been able to do, or I thought I would be able to do back then, had I gone to, like, you know, further school. But it's I guess it's the desire. It's this like fire of like, okay, no, I want to attain this. How do you do this? How do you do this? And then you keep thinking, and then something, the path just carves itself. Now we're getting into faith, and and as I said, the path carves itself. This reminds me of another thing of everything in the world is basically, like Steve Jobs says, it's created by humans, not smarter than you, right? So anything that we're using, the way we're living, the things that we do, it's all just concepts that humans came up with, and then we're just following them, basically, right? They're ideas that people had, and now we're living by those ideas. They're very convenient to us at this point in life, right? So it also means that these ideas can be changed by other humans, by us, people. Why can't it be us that create something new and different for people to do or be or have that in ways of, so that their lives become more convenient, right? Like the phone, the cell phone. It was invented by some guy came up with the idea, and now we're all using them, and our lives are a lot more convenient. So obviously we can make people's lives more and more convenient.
And I think that's happening as we go. The funny thing about anything like that is, like, you only recognize it. It takes a genius to recognize it when it's happening, but you only recognize it when it's happened. For example, like the internet, it faced so much criticism. Like, what the fuck? Like, why would anyone need internet? Like, there's all these libraries and, like, you know, these like you have information stored in hard copy form all over the place, right? Yeah. But then internet came out, and it turned out to be a lot more than it is. What's happening in the crypto space right now? Like, obviously Bitcoins have been around for a long time, and like there's still non-believers. There's believers, but a week ago or something, the U.S. President Joe Biden signed an executive order on how they need to regulate cryptos, and he also talked about how he needs to how there could be this potential central bank crypto coin or digital currency that they can have. Like 7 years ago, they didn't even consider crypto as like a legit investment. Right?
They didn't even consider the internet.
Like internet, like back in 90s. But then again, like now, the other thing is, like, with metaverse, this is just like me just throwing darts in the dark, but I feel like this could be like the next big thing that people would only start to realize, because a lot of times when these ideas come out, it's like
they don't catch on right away.
And I think the big thing is like, where's the need for this?
Yeah.
Like with the internet back then, where's the need for this? We got libraries, but now you can't live without it. Like it just made the life so much easier, right?
Yeah.
And I think as like metaverse comes out, like crypto, and like there's probably 10,000 of ideas that people are working on. But as these, like, that's the thing with them, you can't recognize them when they're happening. But once it's fully implemented, you look back, it's like, holy shit. Yeah, that did change the way we humans operate all over the world, right?
Yeah. But I guess this gets kind of confusing with faith, because when we're talking about faith, the idea to have faith is to have faith in the attainment of your desire is what we're trying to get to.
And I guess just to preface that, like when Napoleon Hill talks about faith, like now over the years, it's got a connotation to it that it's regarding religion, right? Like faith and religion kind of go hand in hand, but he didn't mean faith in any religious sense. He just meant faith in believing in your burning desire.
Yeah, faith in the burning desire.
Mm-hmm.
Faith in the attainment of the burning desire is what he's talking about. So the faith of like this thing that I want, but now I'm going to get it. I have faith that I will get it. But the faith has to be practiced in a way where you can sort of already assume the acquisition of the thing. So the faith has to be so strong that you already know that you're on the path. Like you sort of just know that it's something. It's like this. You know how I have this thing right here? Like I am thirsty. My burning desire is to quench my thirst. I have faith, and it's done.
Yeah, but
you know how I have so much faith that I could just do this. It's that level of faith you have to have in the attainment of the other thing that you want. That's so.
It's like this is exactly how
I can just do it like this.
Yeah.
I can just do it like this.
And if you truly build that level of faith, it's unreal how quickly that's gonna come true. That's a tricky bit, right? And maybe that's what we should talk about, because like traditionally, everyone's taught that you need to have faith. You need to have faith.
Yeah.
But how do you have faith? How do you build faith?
I'll tell you one way we build faith.
That's what we need to talk about. Yeah. Go
right
ahead.
now, what we're doing. So our podcast, the things that we talk about and this discussion, it's constructive in that sense. It's constructive where there's two people now talking about this stuff, which is, it's all imaginary. When there's two people talking about it, it becomes more real. And especially when we listen back to it and stuff, it'll be like, these things that we're talking about, obviously there's probably some truth to this stuff. So it adds like a little notch of like, okay, faith. Other things that add notches of faith is your own self-confidence. Like your own having attained other things in life. For example, in my case, my 100K subscribers on YouTube, that gives me a lot of faith. It gives me faith that I had no idea of how I was going to do anything. And then I was able to do this thing. Whether I'm happy with it or not, whatever happened with it or didn't happen, that's all besides the point. But I was able to do this thing. That means that things are attainable. Things can be attained. So that adds another notch of faith. Auto-suggestion is what he talks about the most.
Auto-suggestion, I guess, through affirmations. And maybe that's why like I was kind of just lining you up to talk about affirmations.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm curious about, because I know like we obviously you've shared with me, and like the other day when you were showing the affirmation that you wrote down.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe talk about the power of affirmations?
Yeah.
And how they have helped you and why they're so important?
Yeah, so for sure, affirmations are very powerful and they do work.
They're one of the key tools, I think, that Napoleon mentions as well.
Auto-suggestion. He calls it auto-suggestion.
To build faith, yeah.
Yeah, he says that the only way to influence the subconscious mind to have that level of faith is through affirmation, by repeating it to yourself over, because that's the best way to influence it. It's repetition, right? So when you have an idea that you want, like you will do this thing, you have to keep telling yourself, I will do this thing. I will attain this amount of money in this much time, whatever that is. But you keep telling it to yourself. But when you're telling it to yourself, it has to be told with faith. So to build faith deep down, you need to have faith while you're saying it too. So like you have to imagine like, okay, well, this is possible. When I'm saying it, yes, this is going to happen and I will make it happen. You're saying it yourself.
And that's where visualization comes in handy.
Yeah, visualizing, imagining, having the faith in saying it. And then also in the chapter of faith, he's talked about the emotions of love and sex. When you combine these two with faith and then you say the thing, and then it just becomes the next. Is there anyone here?
What is that?
Oh, it's over there. Where was I?
Yeah. So getting faith, faith with love and
No, combining the emotions of love and sex
yeah.
with faith.
Actually, so before you jump into that,
Yeah.
because I know we just briefly touched on visualization. So visualization is obviously very important. And like as you were reading your affirmations, if you want to make your affirmation, because what affirmation, when you're reading affirmation, it's not like just something you've written down, you're reading it. You need to feel it. You need to feel, you know how when like you get really good news,
Yeah.
it's like you get goosebumps and like
you feel happy.
you feel happy, and like there's this, obviously there's like
Excitement.
now we know there's like dopamine and serotonin release, but it's almost like you're emitting energy out, right?
Yeah.
So when you're reading affirmations, you need to get into that state. Now, how do you get into that state? You like it doesn't have to feel like a chore that you're just reading through this, that me Prabhdeep Singh, this is what I need to, this is what I already have, and I'm so grateful for this is. You need to visualize it to get to that point. And he gives an example in the book, and maybe this was in the editor's cut, where he had like they did an experiment where they took 3 basketball teams.
Yeah.
One basketball team practiced like for 3 months straight, like this particular 3-pointer, right?
Yeah.
The other team didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
The third team,
They visualize.
they sat there and visualized, like just visualize that you're making these 3-pointers and getting incrementally better.
Mm-hmm.
And when they did the test, obviously the team that didn't do anything or didn't visualize, like obviously their performance got worse. The team that practiced, their performance got better.
Mm-hmm.
And the team that just visualized, surprisingly, their performance got better by almost the exact same amount, versus the team that was just actually practicing the shots. So that's how I guess critical it is. And like there's tools to help you with visualization, like with your vision boards, you know, like you could hang things. You could have you could write yourself a check, like for 2 years from now, this is the amount you need. Affirmations is another tool, but I just want to emphasize that affirmations alone, if they feel like a chore that you need to read this before going to bed or something like that, that's not going to work.
See,
you need to visualize it.
I was going to get into that. So I think most important is making it make you feel something. So basically, when your desire is strong enough, and when it's actually a burning desire, you should have no problems actually feeling the attainment of the goal. So let's just say whatever, okay, like I talked about the water thing. I want to quench my thirst. I know what it's going to feel like after I've had the drink, because I've had drinks before. So my faith is so strong in the feeling of like what it's going to feel like after. So I can sit here and before I even pick it up, I'll know what to expect when I take this drink. So it's like expecting how you're going to feel before actually attaining the thing.
Yeah. So essentially, same thing with visualization, right? Like you need to, and also when you say an affirmation, I think you mentioned this in the book, you need to say it and visualize it as if you've already achieved what you want, right?
Yes.
That's the key.
Yeah.
And I think maybe, I don't know if I disagree with you here, but maybe I'm just saying it in a different way. You know how you said like if the burning desire is the most important thing, and like if you have that, it's easier to have faith. But I guess what we're trying to do here is like how does someone reinforces their burning desire, right? Like there's these tools that they need to use. We obviously know.
How do they reinforce their burning desire?
Yeah, but so essentially what I'm getting at is there's tools that they need to use. We both agree the repetition is the key, right?
Yeah.
So if you just have this burning desire, and you're not practicing it, like that's why in the first book too, like he asks you in one of those steps to write that statement, read it out loud to you, to yourself twice, which is a form of affirmation.
Yeah.
You have a burning desire. You know what you need to do. Now you need to practice it and put some repetition into it by affirmations and visualizing it as you're doing it, right?
Yeah.
So I think having burning desire is important, but to keep that alive, you need these and to keep the faith alive, you need these tools.
You need to. Yes, you need to repeat it to yourself with emotion, is what I would say. If I were to put it in one.
Emotion and visualization, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, even visualization is evoking emotion.
Evoking emotion, yeah.
Yeah, so basically either whether you're visualizing it or whether you're just saying it, as long as you can evoke that emotion, the emotion of attainment. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But like I said, like the emotions of love and sex are very powerful. So if you can somehow connect those. So like a lot of people would say like, oh, I need to attain this thing because I need to take care of my parents, you know? Like because your parents, you love them a lot and you know how much you love them and you want to do the thing like that. that emotion of love gets connected with the attainment of the thing, and then you know that for the love you'll do this thing. Like also, like I don't know if you know, like a lot of people are able to do a lot of things when they after they have kids that they weren't able to do before, because they have this love for these kids, and they know that, you know, for it's the feeling of this love that drives them to go get more, you know. So that's the same for the emotion of sex. Like we've talked about this before, and I think that the Napoleon Hill thing, Outwitting the Devil podcast, where we talked about like why the sex drive is important, because the emotion of sex, you can always relate it to your goals, or like relate it to your vision of,
I
like,
think they call it, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think they call it transmutation
sex
of sexual energy.
Yeah, that's a chapter on its own. But like I think he made that a chapter of its own because he knew the power of that emotion. That's why. It could also be transmutation of love, but it's because it's probably not as strong. He sort of like knows the impact that or the amount of raw power the emotion of sex has, that can be, you know, transmuted into other avenues. So it's the emotion you feel when you and then that builds your faith even stronger when you keep practicing it every day, when you keep repeating it yourself, and you keep your faith. And then these are all practices. This takes time, takes repetition. I don't know how long it's going to take for who. This is why he doesn't put any like timestamps and like do this for this many days and do this for that, because everyone is different. The depth of emotion someone's going to feel while saying a thing is different for everyone. We don't know, and we don't know who's going to say what, who's going to like relate what to what. So it's all just different. It's very subjective. That's why it's so. If you want to make it more intense, you can just tell her to shut up. The emotion?
Okay, we're back.
What was I saying?
Sexual energy transmutation.
No, I was talking about emotions, wasn't it?
Well, same thing, right?
See, this is what happens when you have to do all this stuff. We need to figure out a way that we don't have to do all this, because I feel like when there's a train of thought going and something like this happens. We were talking repetition.
There's a firmware update you can put in. So like every time you guys see a cut, it's essentially where me and Prabh are trying to figure out a way to have our main camera, the wide angle camera, record for more than 30 minutes.
Yeah, the only records for 30 minutes. No, I was saying the repetition of these the repetition of these thoughts, or the repetition of affirmations, it's subjective and it's different for everyone. But the more emotion you can put into it, the more reason you can give yourself to attain the thing that you're going to attain, the more impactful that that statement becomes for your brain. So that now you can sort of it just gives you, it builds more faith. And through faith, when your subconscious mind gets the message and you have faith, that's when like he also talked about connecting with the infinite intelligence, right? Then it connects with the infinite intelligence, and then newer and newer ideas start coming up. So, but it has to be intense, and it has to be either intense or it has to be repetitive over a long period of time, where you just know that like this is just a thing that is going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
So if you want it fast, intensify it more. But if you're willing to like, or if it's a prolonged thing, the intensity can be whatever.
Yeah, like I agree. Yeah, I think you can't put any timeline to that, right? Like he essentially provides a formula. Like this is how things work.
Yeah.
But like everyone, like what you want is different from what I want, is different from what our neighbor wants, right? And like the amount of thought energy they're trying to give out to they're giving out to it is different. So like the results are gonna vary, right?
Yeah.
There's so many variables you can't stamp. Obviously something like that's easily conceivable, like you said, like taking that drink, or you're thinking, you know what, tomorrow I need to do this. That's easy, right? But
yeah.
like there's such a wide range. But I think in principle, if people have a burning desire and they practice faith over time, things are going to line up surprisingly, and then you won't know it when it's happening, but once you're there, you can look back and like, holy shit, wow, yeah. I can connect all the dots now, right?
Yeah. And I think through that burning desire is where all the other quote unquote these secrets and all these books that have been written,
100%,
all that stuff, those are just things that worked for other people. Those are just things that other people were able to develop to attain their burning desire. So because even skills in ourselves, it will develop with that burning desire, with that faith. It'll be like your infinite intelligence will sort of like tell you that like, okay, well, you need to be more aggressive here, less aggressive here. Like you'll start getting those hunches. Is what I presume, because I do feel like you know how we were talking about love. You gotta have love for people, and you can't think bad about people. Like I think that was something that I sort of felt that I need to have more for other people as I got deeper and deeper into this whole idea of faith and just living a life of like calmness rather than anxiety. Like I realized that love was very important, because if I'm being loving towards people, it just automatically makes my anxieties go away. And that was something. So my desire was to live in calmness and not be anxious, right? But the idea that came out of that was just be more loving towards people. This wasn't something that someone told me. This was just something that sort of just connected in my head, and I started realizing that with my friends, with my family, with my siblings, everyone around me, if I'm just being more loving, it just reduces anxiety a lot more. So this was something that just came out of nowhere in my own mind to relieve this tension that I had, and which is, I would say that's just like, like that's not something that needs to be taught. It just, whatever you want is going to be it's going to be different what works for you. I'm not sure if love is going to work for everyone, right? You know how some people say love is the answer? Like, have you ever heard that? Mm-hmm. Maybe love is the answer, but we don't know if it's the answer for everyone. Maybe for some people it's going to be like, okay, well, that didn't work for me. That's not what I wanted. But the people that say that love is the answer, they believe it firmly because it worked for them. So they're
I think whatever you believe that will work for you will work for you.
I guess that's true too.
That's pretty much it, right? Like if you believe love is gonna work for you, it's gonna work. If you don't believe it's not gonna work for you, it's not gonna work for you.
I guess, yeah. It's the persistence and how much faith you have in it working for you. Then see, okay, now this is why this book is. There's so many like
level
intertwines and like all this stuff, because like you don't know where it's gonna. It's the understanding of the book is very complex. When you understand it, it's like some things connect to other things, and other things connect to other things, and some levels like it's very quantum. Let's just say that. Like it's not logical in the logical way of things.
It's not like point A to B to C. Yeah. It could be like point Z to back to A to B to C. And
what
D.
Connects where? It's all over the place.
And honestly, like while you're saying that, I'm just thinking this out loud, that maybe like we'll obviously give it our best effort to do it in segments, but like even now we touched on sex transmutation. We touched on. Auto suggestion and stuff, like it's kind of hard to break it the way
we even touched specialized knowledge.
It's hard to break it the way we have.
Persistence is a chapter as
well. But yeah, no, we'll just. I mean,
it's fine.
We'll come back. And
what I'm saying is we can always we know what the major point is right now. The major point is faith. That's why we're working around, and these things do relate with faith, and it's fine that like it's going into all these efforts. Yeah. I think it gives us a better understanding, and like even as we talked about it, I think I realized, holy, like these things are so intertwined, so much more intertwined than I thought myself, right? Mm-hmm. So even going forward to the next, whatever chapters come up, we'll obviously be talking about desire and faith still, because they have to be a part of the next chapters and the chapters coming after. It's just, it'll all have to be intertwined, which is okay. And I
wonder what kind of an effect, I'm just thinking out loud, this book would have if, like, let's say you have kids, right? And then as soon as your son turns, like, I don't know, 12, or your daughter turns 12, you give them this book and you're like, I want you to read this book every 6 months until you turn 15 or 16.
The thing is, they're not going to read it with the first of all, they're not going to have a burning desire. So they got to have a burning desire to extract ideas out of this book.
So I guess what I'm saying is, like, I'm kind of looking at it from the perspective of hardening of your mental capabilities. So like you're less prone to or open to like change and new ideas after a certain age, right?
That's true.
And that's why I said you got to read it every 6 months for like 4 or 5 years between these ages, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it's bound to click. Like you were saying earlier.
Let me say this: for that to happen, they would first need they would need to want something. They would have to be wanting something, and they'd be like, "Oh, I want this thing," and then you could give them the book, and then it'd be like, "Okay, well, if you want this thing, the principles are in here. Figure it out." I don't know.
They're teenagers. They always want something. they probably want something every day.
They're not gonna easily read. By the time they get to it, it's gonna be like in late 20s or like early 20s.
That's what I'm saying. Like, as a parent, when you can still like,
are you trying to tell them to force their kids to read the book?
100%. I'm telling, like, if I have kids, I'm telling them, like, from age of 12 to 16.
Yeah.
I want you to read this book
Yeah.
once every 6 months. So like that, you're reading this book 8 times.
No, for sure, it'll definitely like make them. Like,
I don't know if I haven't seen like a study or anything that has been done on like obviously, and this is kind of unethical doing human
Yeah.
experimentation, but I have such strong faith that would like a kid that has that knowledge at that
Let-
early age.
Let me stop.
Holy shit.
Let me stop you.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. So first of all, a burning desire. There's levels to burning desires.
Right.
When we're talking about a burning desire, we're talking about money and how much money I want to make. This burning desire has been burning inside of me for years. It's been burning for over 10, 20, like not 20, like 10, 15 years. But ever since I was a kid, ever since they brought me to Canada, this country, they're like, oh, you know, you're supposed to be, you're here, you be something. So it's been, that fire's been flaming. Now the burning desire is so great that I'm really, that the first step is just so like massive that's why I can extract the rest of the concepts better now. Someone else who's got a burning desire that's even more stronger than mine, I'm sure there's people that exist out there, they'll extract those ideas even stronger than I will. So I get what you're saying. From 12 to 16, you'll make them read it, but because of the lack of the burning desire.
But that's the thing. I like, that's where I disagree. Like kids, like when I was 12, I like, for example, like I wanted to be I was big into cricket. I wanted to be a cricketer. I wanted to be an international cricketer, and I made it to like I was playing, like I was playing with my school and everything, and I gave it up too soon. But I feel like I could have gone somewhere, and I did have a really, I feel like I've had a pretty well burning desire for it. And like teenagers, it just like they have so many ideas, they have so many burning desires, they just don't realize like it's actually achievable, right? They give up. Like I feel like having this knowledge for them, and maybe it's like a dumbed down version of the book or what have you, it can go leaps. Like you said, like you had this for what, 10, 15 years now.
Yeah.
Like you were 23, so 10 years, like that like at 13, if you go 15 years, that you're like less than 10 years old. So I think teenagers, they have ideas, I would argue, more often than like someone who's 30 plus.
No. See, that's ideas, like ideas that come up or things that they want. Is that what you're saying? Like
what they want to, I guess, achieve in life, right?
Yeah, but what they want to achieve changes too much, right? It's not one thing.
That's fine. Like here's the thing, like so your burning desire, your definitive goal,
yes,
like you know how you said like it could be multiple things.
Yeah,
you want this, and then you move on to something else, you want this, and like that's fine. Like there's no, like, we don't need to make it sound like this is the one thing that you need to have as a burning desire, and that's all you get. Every human gets this one burning desire. You can have 25 burning desires,
but
but one at a time.
Yes, so
one at a time.
So that's where the problem is with kids. Kids don't have one desires at a time. Kids desires, they are so fluctuating all the time. They want this thing really badly now, and then they'll forget about it the next day.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I think where that changes is like, if, like, say if you're a teenager and you just go out on a football team, you want to be a footballer.
Yeah.
You might have a desire to play video games with your buddies, but the intensity of that desire is not the same as you playing football for your school, or like playing it nationally, right? So I feel like, I guess, let's just, like, maybe we could just agree that it is beneficial than not to put this book
for sure
to your kids versus at this age, and like that's what I mean. And that's maybe let's make a bet, if you'll remember, like 30 years from now, if we give we'll do an unethical experiment.
Well, you're gonna make your kids read this book.
Make my kids read this book, and we'll see. And obviously, you should make your kids read this book, and we'll compare it with people's kids that haven't read this book, and just kind of see how behaviorally and psychologically it has changed them, right?
Well, no, I don't know if I would do that. Well, I would incentivize them to read books. I would just be like, okay, well, if you read this book, I'll give you, part 10 books that you read, I'll buy you a new toy or something like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it has to be positive. You can't like lock him in a room. It's like, you better read this. Yeah. Like, you positively incentivize.
You should incentivize kids to do things that are constructive, and I know for a fact that reading books are constructive. And they won't see it now, but it's just whenever they see it, they'll see it, and they'll be thankful that our parents were giving us. But the thing is that when you say that this book is going to intensify their whatever so much that they'll attain great heights because they'll have so many ideas now, I don't think that's true, because their desires aren't going to be strong enough, because they don't understand that how badly they need to desire things, and how important long-term things are. And also there's something called life experience.
Right.
Life experience, until you go through a certain amount of life experience, you don't realize what things matter, how much. You don't realize the value of money when you're a kid, especially a kid who hasn't faced adversity in the financial term of things, when you've basically been given everything, your parents are providing for you, there you have your games, you have your comfortable room, a comfortable bed, like you don't really think about, I need to get all these things, that like all you're thinking is that, I want to go play with Billy, and go hang out with Joe.
Do you have a Billy friend? When
No, that's not me. I'm just talking about like some random kid, right?
Yeah.
They're not thinking about this stuff. They're the only, and until they start thinking about this stuff, which will come through life experience, they won't have that burning desire, which is why they won't be able to make it as effective as you're saying they'll be able to make it as effective.
I think honestly, like that's I completely disagree with that respectfully.
Why?
But that's what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Like I'm because I'm saying between the ages of 12 to 16, I think, and maybe we could like jump on from this on a different topic here after this, but like a child's brain is developed enough. That's why, like, I'm not saying from 5 to 10, from 12 to 16, like they're defining teenage years, right?
Yeah.
That they can actually, and honestly, to some extent, their brain is way more moldable than an adult human is. Like they're open to new ideas, and maybe it just hits them. It's like, so really, if I really want something and I believe that I'm gonna get it 100%, no doubt, certainty, and I use these tools like affirmations and visualization.
Yeah.
They're gonna start seeing little patterns. Okay, I did achieve this. I did achieve this. Okay, now I can get this, and it kind of worked for me as well. I read like these concepts when I was 16.
Yeah.
In a different form.
Yeah.
And I think that has helped me in major ways since I've moved to Canada, and like I've done like whatever I am today has played a big part in shaping my life. And get this though, like I'm not saying 100% if they just read that once,
Yeah.
it's fine. Like they're probably gonna skim through majority of it.
Yeah.
But we're asking to read it 8 times over the course of 4 years.
Yeah.
By positive incentivization, right?
Yeah. So how about this? How about you, rather than making them read this book, because you're their parent, they'll trust you more. So the things that you tell them in little conversations here and there, wouldn't those be a better enforcement?
Yeah, it'll be like those will happen in parallel as well, right?
No, let's just say that's. Wouldn't you say? Yeah, reading the book, I'm sure is going to be helpful. Like listening to the book, but like even if like you have a little kid and from basically when they're 3 years old, you're always telling them that you can do anything. 100%. You're always instilling desire for like things that that if you have desires, you can follow them. You're putting faith in them. You're letting them know the power of their own minds, and all this stuff progress over the years. If you're doing that, they're obviously going to develop, come up to be people that understand the power of their own mind, and they can have all these amazing ideas and build great things. This is why they say that cycles of wealth only run in families that already are wealthy. So people, when you have wealthy families, they instill these ideas in their own kids that wealth is it's a thing that you can attain.
100%. Like I think that's very important too. But what I'm saying is, like both those things can be done at the same time.
Yeah.
Actually, you can add like 10 more things on top of that, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's important. Like as they're growing up, like you need to teach your kids the power of their mind. Like that's the basic.
That's what you're trying to.
That's
in that. I agree
and this is just a tool that I believe will intensify.
I totally agree with teaching your kids the power of their mind. I agree with that one. But the thing is that the people that don't understand and believe in this stuff themselves first, how are they going to teach it to anyone else, right?
Exactly.
So
that's the society. Like that's what we were originally talking about. Like how sometimes you're trying to pitch a business idea, or you're trying to just share what your plans are with your family, and they're not that supportive. Maybe it's just because they don't understand the power of their mind. They haven't
understood it themselves yet. Yeah. And that's the majority of the world. The majority of the world does not understand the power 100%. Of their mind. And that's why that's the idea of these podcasts. This is why we consider ourselves to be lucky to be talking about this stuff, because this is rare, this is unique. If we don't talk about it, we